name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to the mixtape for April of 2023. I had a little fun with this mixtape, actually. When I was a kid making mixtapes, I didn't always plan them out. I usually plan enough to make sure that I had the right enough times on there. I balance them out. I had to take out the pen and the paper and work it all out by hand and do all the equations and figure it out because I didn't have the computer to just tell me as I was dropping the songs in. This one, when I laid it out, I had some fun with the arrangements, which I'm going to get into as I cover the actual songs itself. Side one has got this one vibe to it. Side two's kind of got a different vibe to it the whole way around. This is kind of like a weird art housey kind of mix almost, I want to say, an alternative kind of mix. Usually, a lot of my mixes are pretty hard rock heavy metal. This one's definitely a lot more not necessarily hard rock heavy metal, while still being hard rock heavy metal, because my review of the Aussie Years Black Sabbath, that big rap party, inspired part of what I did for this mix. Alright, let's get into the actual songs. Side one of my mixtape opens up with Jack White, Taking Me Back. This is one of those songs I really dug when I heard the new album. When Fear of the Dawn came out in 2022, I picked up on vinyl and on CD, and you can watch my review. Did a review for it. I really enjoy this song. It really has this great kind of vibe to it. Total Jack White vibe song. And I just like the hooks and everything to it. It's a song that really just kind of has some great appeal to it. And if you're a Jack White fan, you already know the song. If you're not a Jack White fan, I highly recommend you have to check this song out. Just because it really, everything you could want in a good, solid rock song. That's how I'm going to put it. It's a good, solid, top-notch rock song. I opted to follow up Jack White with some guitar that sounds kind of similar-ish in the tone, in the time, in the frame, the sound. We're talking about AC/DC 74 Jailbreak. So this song was, the version I've got it off of is the 74 Jailbreak, or the song itself is Jailbreak. It's off the 74 Jailbreak album, which was the American release. 1984, I believe. Really good tune, man. I've covered this one as well in reviews, man. But that, great. And then you got the classic line of "Shot him in his back." It feels like the perfect song to follow Taking Me Back. It's got the right tones, it's got the right sounds, it's got the right vibe, it's got that whole rock, sexy, deadly, bad kind of thing going on. I absolutely love it. And I mean, why not? Next song, most modern sounding sound wise. Like if you listen to the production on it and whatnot, St. John from Aerosmith. This is off the Permanent Vacation album. I have always loved this song since the very first time I heard it. That modern 80s blues hook that they've got going on in there with the production on it, it just sounds top notch. Like, this is a really good song. And when you're going from Taking Me Back into Jailbreak and then into St. John, you just kind of got this vibe and flow where you can just feel the blues of different types and sorts the whole way through at this point. And it's one of those songs that I know a lot of people, when it comes to this album, this song, St. John, just kind of, it can be hit and miss. For me, I've absolutely loved it ever since I first heard it, back when I got my first CD player. This was one of my first CDs I got, one of the first songs I knew from Aerosmith. I used to call. I love Alice Cooper's Muscle of Love. And if you did not know what song I was doing from that opening riff, you've got to go listen to the song. Muscle of Love has got one of the greatest guitar openings ever. It was recorded with Alice Cooper with the original group, so a lot of people think that it's either Glenn Buxton or Michael Bruce doing the guitars on there. It isn't. It is Mick Meshbeer. He was actually paid to be a ghostwriter on this song. That is 100% all him. That is one of the greatest riffs ever written to open up a song, man. I really, ooh, one of my absolute favorite Alice Cooper songs. All right, now after doing the Muscle Love intro, I gotta say, now that could be anything, right? But Trainwreck 79 from Death from Above 79, man. I absolutely totally dig on this song. Death from Above in general is like one of my all-time kind of weird favorite bands. And it purely comes down to the fact that it's basically all bass and drums. Oh, guy that his two main instruments are bass and drums. I wonder why. Helps that they're a Canadian band. Definitely helps that they're a Canadian band. I really just, this song in general, this was a song that got me back into them. I didn't even know that they were releasing new material until I stumbled across Trainwreck 79, and it had been like a solid decade since I had heard anything from them. Such a good tune. Oh, go check it out. Video's cool too. I had no intention when I was putting this together of doing one Canadian band after another Canadian band. But F comes after D, and yes, I was literally just kind of scrolling through alphabetically with the bands, and I hit Finger 11, and I'm like, yeah, I want to put some Finger 11 on, but I didn't want to put Paralyzer on. I love Paralyzer, great song. I've caught myself accidentally dancing down the street to that song a few times. What I opted to go with was Them Versus You Versus Me, and I love this song. I have always loved this song since the first time I heard this album. It is beautiful and haunting, and just really has this great vibe and energy to it the whole way around. I really do recommend, if you do not know this song, you should check out this song. It is one of those songs that is absolutely fantastic and probably overlooked. Next two tracks, same band, but two different albums. We are talking about Ghosts BC. Now, I'm saying Ghost BC specifically because the album that's these two songs are coming off of is specifically from Ghost BC. Most people will just say Ghosts. And I know I went and looked when I was doing all the reviews as to the difference between the Ghost BC and the Ghost, and basically it was just crap. Uh, Realistically, their song "If You Have Ghosts," I did a review for this already when I covered the single of the same title. It is a great song. Such a beautiful 60s kind of vibe and sound to it. I absolutely love it. So it works great in this mix because everything in here has got this very 60s, 70s kind of vibe going on, even though a lot of it's more modern stuff. It's just the inspirations for all of it. You can see where it's all coming from. As much as I like If You Have Ghosts, the next track on the mixtape is Year Zero. And when I discovered Ghosts and I found Year Zero, I just absolutely lost it, man. I love Year Zero. I mean, If You Have Ghosts is really good. Like I was saying, that 60s kind of vibe to it is fantastic. Absolutely love it. But then you hit Year Zero, and it really feels like you're hitting the 70s, and you're really getting into that good shit in the 70s, like that heavy proggy kind of stuff in the 70s, man. And just, it's one of those ones. And it's really weird. I know Ghost kind of gets a mixed vibe and a mixed reaction from people, and I'm kind of surprised at that because they are one of those bands that's just really, really good. They're great. At the end of the day, they're a great prog band. That's the best way to put it. I mean, they're not 100% proggy, but if you look at everything, they're prog. All right. The Wilson Sisters. I love the Wilson Sisters. Heart. I love Heart. Had to put some Heart on here, so I wanted to put on some Heart, and I opted to go with something nice. Originally, I was going to do Crazy on You after Year Zero, but that didn't feel right. I actually, like I said, I put some time into this mix because I wanted to be just right. And I opted to go with Barracuda instead because Barracuda had the right energy to go after Year Zero, had the right vibe, had the right everything you needed to take it up a notch and make it perfect and get that energy just up and flowing. Because, I mean, there's been a lot of energy on this album, but for the most part, it's been kind of a slowerish kind of mixtape. You know what I'm talking about? I put together 45 minutes of kind of slower stuff, so I really need to take the tempo up an extra notch. And I mean, outside of Muscle of Love, this is the next fastest song, really. Okay, so it's really weird. Right after I take everything up a notch, what do? I drag it right down. Um, one of the people who regularly comments on my YouTube videos had made a comment about how they were going about me and my love for love songs. Mm-hmm. So while I was putting this together, I'm like, you know what? Let's for fun put a love song on here. And then I said, what's the coolest possible love song I could put on here that I actually would want to listen to that is not Alice Cooper's Might As Well Be on Mars? And I opted with In Excess, Never Tear Us Apart. Because this is a good tune. I mean, a really good tune. In Excess itself, highly underrated band in a lot of ways. They really could have gone a lot heavier. I think they kept it more out of the metal zone just for the fan base. But they really, I mean, goth metal, definitely for sure. Like this song is just gorgeous that way if you were to redo it. And to finish off side one of the mixtape, we've got Jack White, Taking Me Back Gently. This is Taking Me Back, but this was off of Entering Heaven Alive, which was released later in 2022. Jack White did 2 albums that year. The Entering Heaven Alive album, I've already covered this. It really felt like he was drawing inspiration from a lot of material everywhere and kind of doing retakes or redos on certain riffs, stuff like that. I really love having Taking Me Back Gently as the closer and having Taking Me Back as the opener going through this whole mix. It really just kind of sets it off perfectly. It has this great kind of vibe to it. It makes it feel like you've gone through this whole story within like this 45-minute mix just right there. Love it. We are now into side 2, and I kick off side 2 with Pink Floyd, One of These Days. So I'm going to warn you ahead of time, this side of the mixtape is a little more instrumental heavy. Hence, One of These Days kicking it off, that bass riff, that, and then you get the repeat going on there with the loop machine. And it's off to the races, man. One of my all-time favorite Pink Floyd songs. It was one of my main reasons for buying the metal album, but the song One of These Days, man. One of these days I'm going to cut you into little pieces. Man, yes, it is good stuff. Very good stuff. So where do we go from One of These Days? We go into Kirk Hammett's The Incantation off of his Portals EP from Record Store Day for 2022. This album, when I covered it and did the review for it, I was blown away. This was magnificent, and I really hope Kirk does a lot more of these because this was just fantastic. And it only has to be an EP, like 4 songs a year would be freaking fantastic of this stuff. But The Incantation, I really was kind of tossing around where to go with it. And The Incantation ended up on here really because of the time length. At 8 minutes and 7 seconds, it felt like the perfect song to put into this to kind of lengthen out this a little bit. And the music is just such a wonderful story and trip on its own. Beautiful. So Kirk, please, more. Now let's bring in some actual lyrics. And let's get a little reminiscent, and let's get a little special, and let's get a little on the road to nowhere. Because the road to nowhere leads to me. Ah, ah, the road to nowhere leads to me. I love this song. I actually debated about putting on the live version off of Live and Loud because actually that's a really good version. I really do like that version. But but for time purposes, I went with the studio album version, and it wasn't even the first song off of the studio or off of the No More Tears album I was going to use. I was going to use a different song, but for time reasons, Road to Nowhere is what we got. And I do absolutely love Road to Nowhere. I'm happy to have it on here. It's a great song. And really, after the incantation, it's a nice way to kind of start bringing you into the rest of the album. All right, next song on here, Out in the Fields by Kotapelto and Limitanen. I've covered this. This is off the Black Acoustic album, which was released in 2012. This is a fantastic cover of the Gary Moore song, which arguably was also a Thin Lizzy song, so it depends on how you want to go with it. I just don't know how you want to take that one or how you want to argue that one. Doesn't matter either way. This is a fantastic song. This rendition, I went with this rendition because I really like this album in general, and I really like the rendition of this song. And putting an acoustic track on here, I really kind of actually debated where to put this one in the mix, and I opted to go here because the other song that I put on here that was kind of a little more acoustic, I wanted to follow up before we get into some really heavy stuff to close out the album. But this song, this cover is fantastic. Go check it out. All right. So this song isn't really acoustic, but it definitely has more of an acoustic-ish vibe to it. Many Shades of Black from the Recon tours. There are. I'm a Jack White fan, huge Jack White fan. I've covered this before. I mean, the very first time I started covering Jack White on these reviews, I literally called it the Jack White Love Affair and covered like one album from every band that he's done. And I really, really love this song. Off of the Consolers of the Lonely album, this is one of my two favorite songs. The only song that I might like more than this is Carolina Drama. And I love both of them for the same reason. The instrumentation on them are both fantastic, but this song in particular is just so heart-wrenchingly beautiful and dark at the same time. All right, so I'm closing out the album with the gods of metal, the Holy Trinity. We are talking Ritchie Blackmore, Tony Iommi, and Jimmy Page. So first off, Rainbow, Man on the Silver Mountain. You might have thought I was going to go Deep Purple. Hell no. I went Man on the Silver Mountain because, well, honestly, it's probably my still like I heard it. I remember hearing it for the first time as a kid in the radio with in the car with my dad. I fell in love with this song, and Dio's voice is godly on here. Ritchie Blackmore's riffs are incendiary. Oh, great song, one of the greatest ever, and I have loved this song since day one that I have heard it. I will always say it's Dio's best. And talking about Dio, we're going to actually stay with Dio. I said Tony Iommi. You know that means Black Sabbath. Throw in some Dio. We're talking Heaven and Hell. And we're not talking the band Heaven and Hell, which they later performed under. I'm talking not the album Heaven and Hell, the song Heaven and Hell. And I'm one of those people that forever was very much Black Sabbath as Ozzy. Not that you can't have Black Sabbath without Ozzy. You know, like Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi are like gods, okay? You can put them with any band and it's going to be godly. But Heaven and Hell with Dio, probably top 5 Black Sabbath songs, period. And I've definitely changed my mind on it isn't Black Sabbath without Ozzy. All right. And we're going to finish the album off, my mixtape here, the second side, with Led Zeppelin, Whole Lotta Love. Felt perfect. felt like the perfect way to end this album. I really couldn't have come up with a better way to finish my mixtape. And like I said, I wanted the Holy Trinity at the end, man. That is your metal trinity of guitarists. Anybody can say what they want, but those three did it first, and they did it all. Between those three, they wrote every hard rock, heavy metal riff that was ever going to be written, okay? That's just how that goes. I'm sorry if everybody wants to argue and debate over that, but I will argue until the day I die that those three wrote every great riff. And A Whole Lot of Love, simple, perfect, great way to cover, man. You want to warm up with some dudes, man. A Whole Lot of Love is a song to kind of crack into with a bunch of guys and see what you can really do together. Just absolutely fantastic song. All right, folks, that's it. I'm done. Leave me your comments below. Let me know what you think of my mixtape for this month. While you're down there, there's a link that'll take you to Patreon. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, the bell for notifications. Peace, love, take care. Share another tape with you next month.